Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So it looks like Social Security beneficiaries are going to be receiving a payment increase very soon. Some are actually going to be receiving more than $500. So we're going to be looking at how much you can expect to receive, whether you're receiving Social Security retirement, SSI or SSDI. Plus, we're going to be looking into a very important decision that the Federal Reserve made yesterday, which should have very important ramifications on the future of our economy. But before I go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so over the past year or two, of course, the inflation problem has been one of the biggest issues facing our country. The president has taken a lot of heat for this issue. It rose over 8% at one point, and because of this, we actually had a cost of living adjustment in 2023 of 8.7%. This, of course, was the highest COLA in 40 years. You'd have to go all the way back into the 80s to find a time where inflation was higher than what it was last year. So, of course, this was a huge problem, and because of this, we actually had to have the Federal Reserve use some tools in their bank to make sure that we get inflation back under control. One of these tools, of course, was to be raising interest rates. So you can see on the chart up on the screen there that from last year, they have been very aggressively hiking interest rates. So right now they stand between 5 to 5.25%. And yesterday they actually had a meeting, and at one point they were considering raising rates once again by another 25 basis points, by another 0.25%, but they decided to actually have a pause where they were not going to raise rates. They're going to see how inflation looks at the next report in July, and then they're going to make some adjustments from there if necessary. Now, it is expected that they are going to be raising rates by another 50 basis points, by another 0.50%, and then from there, they're probably going to pause and then begin lowering rates again next year in 2024. But we'll just have to wait and see. Right now, they do have sort of a benchmark for inflation of 2%. It is still pretty well above that figure, so they do have a long way to go. But we do have another half year to go in 2023. So hopefully they can get closer to that 2% number. Inflation has been coming down this year, but it is still much higher than what it should be, but certainly a lot better than what it was last year, where it was, say, close to 10%. And actually, a lot of charts measuring inflation had it well, close to 15 or even 20% if they were using numbers that they had before. So according to CNBC, Fed holds off on rate hike but says two more are coming later this year. So the Federal Reserve on Wednesday decided against what would have been an 11th consecutive interest rate increase, as it measures what the impacts have been from the previous 10. But the decision by the Federal Open Market Committee to hold off on a hike at this two-day meeting came with a projection that another 2/4 percentage point moves are on the way before the end of the year. The central banker said they will take another 6 weeks to see the impacts of policy moves as the Fed fights an inflation battle that lately has shown some promising, if uneven, signs. The decision left the Fed's key borrowing rate in a target range of 5 to 5.25%. Members also moved up their forecast for future years, now anticipating a Fed funds rate of 4.6% in 2024 and 3.4% in 2025. That's up from respective forecasts of 4.3% and 3.1% in March, when the summary of economic projections was last updated. So obviously, of course, we are seeing an improvement as far as inflation goes because of these rate hikes. And really, the economy hasn't yet crashed. We're seeing jobs numbers continue to go up. We were, expecting to see a lot of job losses from these rate hikes, but so far we really haven't been. Although we may see, more of an impact later on this year, where we may end up once again in a recession. Of course, we already had a recession last year, which is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. And we had the recession, but yet we had, members of the media and, of course, the President Biden administration changing the definition of what a recession actually was. But we actually already had the recession last year. So whether or not we end up in another recession, maybe not. Let's hope not, because we certainly do not want to see people losing their jobs. But of course, that is very possible. Now, of course, with inflation coming down, we did have some new projections of what the cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries will be for next year. And last month, whenever this data came out, the projection was at 3.1% for the COLA. And this month, with the inflation rate going even lower, we have an even lower projection for what the COLA would be. This time it came in at 2.7%. So now that we have a new projection, we have a pretty good idea of what the COLA will be next year for retirees, for SSI beneficiaries, and those receiving SSDI as well. So we're going to be going over those numbers real quickly. So we're going to start out with the average retirement benefit. If you're receiving Social Security retirement this year, on average, people are receiving right around $1,827 this year. And with a 2.7% COLA, next year the new average payment would increase to $1,876, or an increase of right around $49 per month, or close to $600 per year. Okay, so at this point, we're going to move on to SSDI beneficiaries. So starting out with non-blind disability in 2023, non-blind recipients are receiving right around $1,470, with an increase that would bring it up to $1,509 per month, or an increase of $39 per month. For blind disability recipients, on the other hand, the average is $2,460 this year. That would be boosted up to $2,526 with the 2.7% COLA, which would be an increase of $66 per month, or $792 per year. Now, the max Social Security retirement benefit, if you're receiving the maximum amount and you retire at the age of 67, this year that amount is $3,627. Now, if we end up receiving a 2.7% COLA in 2024, that would actually be boosted up to $3,724, which would be a $97 per month increase, or close to $1,200 per year. Now, if you wait all the way until the age of 70, you would actually be receiving even more money, and this increase would probably be, it would definitely be over $100 per month. So a pretty good increase for those folks there. And finally, for those receiving SSI in 2023 and in 2024, this year the maximum payment for individuals is $914. However, with that 2.7% COLA in 2024, that would be increased all the way up to $938, or an increase of right around $24 per month. Now, for couples, you are going to be receiving a little bit more. This year, they are receiving $1,371 per month. That would actually be boosted up to $1,408, or a $37 per month increase. Now, of course, if you want to figure out what you would be receiving next year, you're probably not receiving the numbers that I gave in this video, because these are just the maximum or the averages. So you would just simply take what you're receiving right now and you would multiply that by 2.7%, or 1.027, and you should figure out exactly what you're receiving. Now, keep in mind, this 2.7% number is not the official number. We're not really even close to what the official number is going to be. That is going to be released in October. These are simply projections, so it could be even lower than 2.7% if inflation keeps getting squashed and keeps going down. It could possibly be higher, or yes, it could actually be 2.7%. These are just predictions. Now, how they figure this is they take the third quarter CPIW data, and the third quarter is July, August, and September, and we're always running 1 month behind. So we're not going to know the July data for the CPIW until August. We're not going to know the August numbers until September. We're not going to know the September numbers until October. And then in October, that is when we're going to know the full data, and that is also going to be when we know the cost of living adjustment for next year. I believe it's October 12th is when that information is going to be released, and when we'll know for sure how much of an COLA we are going to be receiving. And right now the projection is 2.7%. It really shouldn't be too far off of that. More than likely it's going to be somewhere between 2 to 3.5%. I can't really see it being any lower, and I can't really see it being any higher unless something very significant changes. But those are the numbers right there, and that's all I have for today's video. So I certainly hope that you enjoyed as usual. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like, consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.